and welcome. This is going to be an astrology compatibility, and this time Cancer and Scorpio, which both of you are water signs, so you're definitely both going to share an appreciation for emotions and changeability. Interestingly enough, also, Cancer is the that's going to be weird to say, the earthiest of the water signs, and I consider it to be a dual element in that way because usually when you think of the kind of crab that is the glyph, it's usually a crab that either spends most of its time on land but kind of fishing in the water or in tide pools that are on the land rather than deeply in the ocean. And interestingly enough, Scorpio is co-ruled. It's a fire and water sign. It's primarily water, but it is also fire, and if you think about it, they're both crustaceans, which is interesting. Scorpions are a land crustacean, and there's many thoughts that it evolved from because a desert is considered to be previously to be an ocean, hence why so much sand is there. And so you have this interesting dichotomy in there, and there's a fair amount of differences in there, and you're more than two signs away from each other. So, Cancer and Scorpio often do get they get a I don't want to say like 50-50. Some astrologers will match them up a lot, and other astrologers will say no way. It really just depends. Now, actually, as far as water signs go, Scorpio can be a very consistent water sign, especially in their evolved energy, and Cancerians really, really appreciate that, and need that in many ways because being ruled by the fourth house and by the moon, you need emotional stability in your romantic relationships. Now, the hard thing is that Scorpios also need that emotional stability because both fire and water can be fairly unstable. If you think about it, like if you put a pot of water on to boil, if you get just the right temperature, you have boiling water and it's fine. It can be there, but at any moment it can boil over or it could stop boiling, and that often it can kind of happen on an internal level with Scorpios, and because Scorpios are, also have the fire element in there and are co-ruled by Pluto and Mars. They often struggle with their own internal power dynamics, and Cancers, on the other side, tend to struggle more with external power dynamics, which can have an internal effect, but they are different. And your Cancers are ruled by, well, Cancers are of the fourth house, which is the mother, and in a house it would be the kitchen. And it's very much to do more with the nurturing and the nuclear family and things of that nature. Whereas Scorpio is the eighth house, which is the bedroom. It's more about like the lustiness and the kinkiness and exploring things like that. Now, that being said, someone with strong Cancer placements and Scorpio placements actually often really connect on a physical level. And there can be just kind of a divine interaction between the two of you, especially if, like, say, the person with Scorpio elements has some Capricorn or Taurus elements to kind of ground them a little more, and the Cancerian has either some Earth elements or some air elements that can help kind of balance out their emotional nature and changeability, because being ruled by the moon, they can change a lot. Um, Now, that being said, that's most of what I have seen between those with strong Cancer and Scorpio placements, is mostly a kind of a physical relationship, which it's often very deep and emotional, but there's often not enough emotional stability between these two water signs to really like keep it going without other elements. Make sure you check out the primer video I did, because you're not like, the sun sign is the last thing you want to look at, especially in terms of like Cancer and Scorpio. You want to look and see what is your Mars placement and your Venus placement and how they fit together, and what are your rising signs, because your personalities are really going to make a big difference. Now, if you both share a similar ideology and a similar taste in music and art and things like that, and you both agree on like what monogamy means, or sometimes there's a good connection between like polyamory or ethical non-monogamy between Cancerians and Scorpions. Scor Yeah, Scorpions. I was trying to think if there was a different way to say that, but no. Um, Now, mm, it's just one of those dynamics to where there's a lot of ifs. Like, if this is this way, then yes, it can work out really well. If this is not there, then no. Or if you have, if a lot of times Scorpios can find themselves at odds with their families, and whereas a Cancerian can find themselves at odds with their families are still exceptionally valuable to them and important in one way or another. Even if they're not connected to them, the thoughts and connections to them are important, whereas Scorpios are probably the most individual signs of the water signs. And so if Scorpio really doesn't want anything to do with family, whether their own or the Cancerians, and the Cancerian does, that can create a very big challenge between the two of you. Also, there are often very big political ideological differences between a Cancerian and a Scorpion. So make sure in the beginning to really communicate what sort of, what's your love language, what's your, if you know it, your Enneagram type, what is your um, level of kinkiness, what are your hard limits and soft limits, and deal breakers and things like that. Make sure that you're really negotiating that from the beginning, and then just be aware that fights between a Cancerian and a Scorpio dominant person can really, really get heated up. You both, have a pinch and a sting, and you can both be very egoic in your emotions, and also likewise, even though you recognize you're very emotional creatures, when you are feeling scorned, you can really be disconnected with just how emotional you are being. And so it's not so much the beginning of a Cancer and Scorpio relationship you need to worry about, it's the ending, because they can get very, very heated and very, very dramatic if both of you are not being graceful with yourselves and with each other. Hmm. I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. If you have any specific questions about dynamics, romantic dynamics between Scorpio and a Cancerian, or Cancerian and a Scorpio, please let me know in the comments below. And I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.